It's time for
On the Victory Homefront.
with Jamie.
I've been thinking a lot lately about something I don't think we talk about enough. I'm at that age now where in another time, I would be a war mother. My boys, they're right at that age, the age where in wartime they wouldn't be sitting at home. They'd be gone. And even knowing that the standards that they had during World War II, probably neither one of my sons would qualify to go to war, that doesn't really change the feeling. Because the truth is, they could have. Hello to all the Rosies and Homefront Joes, and welcome back to On the Victory Homefront. Today we're talking about something on the homefront that I feel does not get talked about enough, and that is the war mothers. When you think about World War II, you most likely think about the soldiers, or maybe the sweethearts waiting for letters, wearing the sweetheart jewelry, the Rosies going to the factories. But when you reach a certain age, the perspective shifts. You stop imagining yourself as the one going to war, and you might start imagining the ones you love going instead. And that's a different kind of weight. For many mothers during wartime, this wasn't hypothetical. They didn't have just one child in danger. Chances are they often had several sons and daughters, sometimes spread across different branches, different continents, every day carrying uncertainty, every letter mattering, every silent moment meant something. There's a couple of stories that captures this kind of sacrifice in a way that's hard to forget. One of the most well-known examples is that of Mrs. Aletta Sullivan. She had 5 sons. You might have heard of them. They were known as the Fighting Sullivans. It was George, Francis, Joseph, Madison, and Albert. All 5 enlisted in the U.S. Navy during World War II, and they made it a strict condition of their enlistment that they all serve together on the same ship, and that request was granted. But sadly, in November of 1942, the ship that they were serving on, the USS Juno, was sunk by the Japanese, and all 5 brothers were lost. Back home, eventually their mother, Aletta Sullivan, learned that all 5 sons had been lost. All 5 gone. The loss of all 5 brothers in a single day remains the greatest combat-related loss of life by one American family, and it prompted the U.S. Department of Defense to create the sole survivor policy, which prevents all remaining children in a family from serving in hazardous combat if one or more siblings have already died in the military service. And that brings us to another family that you may have heard of, but you may not know the name of the family, but you're definitely going to know the movie that it was inspired by. The Nyland brothers inspired the movie Saving Private Ryan, and the 4 brothers from New York served in the U.S. military during World War II. And in June 1944, 3 of the brothers were reported killed or missing in action around the time of the D-Day invasion. So to prevent a grieving mother from losing all her sons, U.S. military tracked down the remaining brother and ordered him to be immediately sent home to the U.S. Now, they did find out later that one of the brothers who was reported missing and presumed dead was actually alive and was a prisoner of war by the Japanese. It's almost impossible to fully grasp something like that until you place yourself in even a fraction of that position. I think about my own boys, not 5, but I have 2. And even that thought, both of them gone at the same time in the same danger, it's overwhelming. Now, multiply that uncertainty across millions of households. War mothers didn't stand on battlefields, but they lived in a constant state of emotional tension. They kept homes running, they supported the war effort everywhere that they could, but more than anything, they waited. And waiting can be its own kind of battlefield. Many mothers displayed service flags in their windows, a blue star for each child serving. You may have seen this. This would be in the window, and it's still used today. Sometimes it'd be 1 star, 2, sometimes more. And if the worst happened, that star turned gold. It was a quiet symbol of a loss that would never fully leave that home. Maybe we don't talk about war mothers as much because their story isn't as visible. There are no uniforms, no medals, no clear end to their service, but their role was constant. Here's a real documented World War II era letter from a mother to her son. My darling son, I wonder if you realize how very proud I am of you, not only for what you are doing, but for the way you are doing it. I try not to worry, but of course I do. That is a mother's privilege, I suppose. Every night before I go to sleep, I think of you and hope that wherever you are safe. Do not be concerned about me. I am managing quite well. Just do your duty and come home when you can. All my love, mother. And there's something about letters like that. They're steady, they're reassuring, almost controlled. But underneath that, you can feel it, the worry, the restraint, the effort not to burden the one already in danger. War doesn't just ask something of those who serve. It asks something of those who love them. And for mothers, that cost is measured in a different way, in sleepless nights, in unanswered questions, in the quiet strength of continuing on no matter what news may come. So today, we remember the war mothers, not just for what they gave, but for what they carried. Because while they may not have been on the front lines, they were never far from the war. I want to thank you all for joining me for this episode of On the Victory Homefront. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and share with your family and friends. And until next time, remember, my friends, victory is in the everyday.